Well, when I first started making content, it was not good, right? It was nowhere nowhere even close to what I'm making today. So to a certain point, you just have to start, right? No one's going to judge. Like, this is the analogy I always use. Does anyone really remember all the games that Michael Jordan lost terribly, or the shots that he missed, or the games where he just didn't really show up, the championships that he missed? No. We remember 6 championship rings and him being one of the greatest basketball players in the history to ever do it. Well, that's the same way with your content.
This is the Coaches Council, made up of 6 elite coaches dedicated to serving and ending personal struggle for high performers in business, health, and relationships. As a collective, we have built and helped build 6, 7, and 8-figure businesses, dominate in multiple industries, coached and played in professional sports leagues, and developed some of the strongest and most intimate relationships, both professional and personal. This isn't your average podcast. It's for the hungry, the dedicated, the doers, for those that have a dream and truly want that dream to become reality. People who want to take action, leave their ego at the door, and own every level of their life. If that's you, then step into the Coaches Council as we rewrite the truths to living that high-performance life.
Welcome back to another week of the Coaches Council. We have a great one for you guys this week. Running solo up here in New York City. Pradeep and John are on vacation, but nonetheless, they're just missing out on the man, the myth, the legend. If you are at all present on LinkedIn, I'm sure you've seen his wild, crazy videos. Alex B Sheridan, how are you, sir? Thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm doing well, man. Doing really well. I appreciate you having me on. Glad to be here.
No, thank you so much for coming on. And Alex, you've done such a great job through LinkedIn, and your story is compelling just in terms of creating brand awareness as to what you do. And I'm curious to tell, because your story is so unique, but also can be relatable based upon a lot of people's stories. So tell us a little bit about how you got into the branding space and doing what you're doing now, moving from the corporate space, because a lot of people right now have been displaced, either furloughed or laid off, or are looking for a different career path. And I think your story really resonates really clearly with that.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I was in the corporate world for 6 years, really 8 years prior to starting this company this year. And I was doing staffing and recruiting, business development, sales, things like that, leading teams. And I always had this kind of like inner desire to want to start something. I always thought that I had this desire I want to create something from scratch. I thought there was more to the world and more ways that I can make an impact than just simply kind of climbing up the corporate ladder. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but just for me, it wasn't for me personally. I just knew there was something more that I had to do. There was a bigger impact that I could make. So I started my company on the side as a side hustle. And I said, my goal is going to be, I'm going to work at this side hustle, and I'm going to bust my butt every single night. When I get done on my full-time job, I'm going to work on this side hustle every single weekend, every chance I get. I'm going to spend time building this business, which was started off just being LinkedIn video marketing. And so I put everything I got into it, and I won my first customer February 2020. And 6 months later, I had replaced my 6-figure income at the corporate job. And I said, hey guys, I came to my crew and I was like, I'm putting in my notice. I pulled my director in, and virtually, obviously, because it's COVID. And I said, I'm putting in my 2 notice. And they were all like, where are you going? What are you leaving for? What can't we offer you here? And I said, it's not you guys. I said, I got to follow my dream. I have to pursue this passion. It's what I love to do. I mean, it was to the point where I was waking up every day in my corporate job. I just wasn't happy. I just wasn't feeling it. Like, I wasn't passionate about it. I wasn't excited about it. It didn't get me like the juices flowing, but the side hustle did. I mean, it's so weird, man, because I would get up and work from 7 to 5. And then after 5, like any spare time I had from then till 11, 12 at night, I was excited to then work on the side hustle. Like, I was excited to go to work, and you would think that's the end of a work day. You'd be kind of like, oh man, I got to do this. But that's when I knew. That's when I knew like I'm on the right path, because I was pretty good at it naturally, and I loved to do it, and there was a market for it. And so I'm like, I got to go all in on it. And I was like, there's plan A. This is what I'm going to do. There's no plan B. There's no what if it doesn't work. There's no, I could fall back on my full-time job. It was like, I'm going to make this happen. And it doesn't, I'm going to fail along the way for sure. I'm going to make mistakes, like 100% I will, but I'm going to make this happen. And I think that was the most important shift in mindset that I had to make in the beginning, was just, the timetable, we'll see what it's going to be, but it's going to happen.
You said something that's so unique there, is that it was all about the energy in which it gave you and the feeling that you were able to completely change your circumstance, and that you didn't pigeonhole yourself in your circumstance and make that your life, but rather took control and allowed yourself to change your circumstances because of your actions. Now, what led you to really act? What led you to garner the strength, the vision, the understanding, and allowed you to really just dive in and go?
I think it was a combination of hardships, to be honest. And this is how a lot of amazing things, I think, birth out of challenging times, out of hardships. But I was going through a separation with my ex, which was tough, and we were living together, and it was just tough. We have 2 kids together, and so that was not easy. I was going through a change I had made it in my job, where I took on a new territory, and I had one built up that was super successful, that was recurring revenue. I mean, I was made. I could have just stayed there and just chilled, but I wanted something else. I wanted to build something. And so I was starting a brand new territory in a very underdeveloped territory and division. And so that was really hard, trying to build a new team from scratch, and some other personal things. And so it was a combination of, I just felt like, man, this is tough right now. It is one of the toughest periods of my entire life. And that right there, triggered in me, you got one life to live, man. And if you're not going to go for it now, when are you going to go for it? And for me, I'm best when my back's against the wall. I'm almost best when things are down. As weird as that sounds, when I get too far up and things are too good, I get a little bit weird about it. I'm like, all right, something needs to happen. I need to find something new to do, or some new challenge, because I don't operate super well when things are going just perfectly smooth and I'm sailing to the top. I like to be sort of that underdog, I need to prove myself kind of mentality. And so it just really fired me up. And I'm like, man, I got to make this happen. I keep talking about, I want to start my own business and make this big positive impact on the world. But yet I look in the mirror every day and I'm doing the same damn shit. I'm doing the same thing every single day. Yeah. It's not going to happen unless I make a drastic change. I get my mind right about what I want to accomplish and why. And I get out there and take massive action every single day.
I love what you said about, and you can just see your change in energy the moment you start talking about this. Talk about your story. You're kind of getting into it, just kind of talking. But then the moment you there was a switch that happened. I'm sure listeners, you can understand and hear it in his voice. But if you're watching the video, you see it too. He sat a little bit taller, changed his expression, changed the way in which he was depicting his voice. And that is what you need to find is your it. That is your it factor. And that's what you start driving into. And that's what I want to talk about with people about today, is what you dove into, which was truly helping build industry leading brands through their social media. Because to be honest, social media is really all we have right now in a lot of different ways. Obviously how we're doing this in Zoom and LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and you name it. There's all these different platforms. But how have you been able to help companies and forget companies, solopreneurs do what they want so much and take the passion that you have for this and help make their passion become realities?
And that's what's so fun about this job. That's why I really love it, because, and I could see this branching out to me doing a lot of different things, because I'm so passionate about helping people unleash their creative, unleash their potential. That's kind of one of my taglines. And, I just know what it's like to have an idea and have this business, but how do we go tell our story so that it resonates with our potential customers? How do we get out there and create content that draws our customers to us? What is the brand? What does it mean to be a part of our company? What does it mean to be a part of this journey that we're on? And so I'm just really excited to be able to help people do that. I come in and I help them develop, hey, what is the brand? What does it mean for, your company? What does it represent? What does it stand for? What are the pillars? And then I help them develop content strategies. Where are you going to show up and how? And what is the content going to be? And how is it going to resonate with your target audience? How is it going to bring them closer to you? How are you going to build a community? I teach them how to engage on social media. How do you build relationships? Because you can't, as you know, you can't get on social media, post a couple times, and then just, pray it blows up and goes viral. It just doesn't work that way, right? You got to get in there, especially in the beginning when you're trying to build your awareness and people just don't know who you are. You got to get in and engage. You got to really build a community. And so I love doing that. I absolutely love doing that. Now I'm starting to work with some companies and bigger folks. And I just trained 134 people, a couple of weeks ago on LinkedIn. A group of companies came together, and it's like, I'm so pumped for all 134 of those folks. Some are going to take it, run with it. Others are not going to as much. And that's just the nature of human beings. Some do this with it, some do that with it. But I know for the most part, like, that is going to make a massive difference in their lives, in their business, in how they run things, how they generate revenue. It's going to make a difference with their experience with their customers. So that's what's cool for me, is I really get to, I feel like I get to make an impact on a business and businesses, but I also feel like I'm helping people express themselves and really have a voice, which is what you have when you start creating content. You've got this platform now to speak on, and what you want to do with it is up to you. But most people, especially on LinkedIn, are such a great community. Most people are doing something positive with it. So if I can help enhance their message and help them craft kind of their story in a way that draws in more folks, then it's a win for me. It's a win for them.
It's awesome that you brought up relationships, because at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about. And I'm curious, how do you build relationships with your companies, with your employees, with your audience, as we're in this new world?
Well, there's a lot of different ways to do it. But I mean, if you look at it from a social media standpoint, when you put out content, it's about, putting out really good content that captivates your audience, that makes them want to come to you and engage on your content. And when you engage, or when they engage, you're engaging back, right? So when people drop comments on your post, it's not only commenting back, but starting conversations. And then you take it in the DMs and you say, hey, thanks so much for watching my video today. I really appreciate the support. Let me show my support back to you. And by the way, that's how you generate some customers too. So it's kind of like you're building relationships, you're nurturing this community, but it's leads. And then the flip side is you got to be able to go out and hunt down other people's posts and engage with them. You have to start conversations. So you're not going to build a relationship off commenting on a few posts, right? But you can start a conversation, and you can start the beginning of a connection where you can kind of hit it off with somebody. And then you're going to take it to a Zoom call kind of like this, where you can take it next level and you can really learn about the person and where they want to go and what they want to accomplish and what are the challenges that may get in their way. And sometimes you can help them, and that becomes a customer. Sometimes it's advice that maybe you share with each other that's still impactful. Other times you go your separate ways, and maybe you cross paths later. But either way, I think it's a win-win when you're having conversations. You have to take the conversations off social media, though. That's the key. You have to meet people. Yeah, even if it's virtually, you can't just keep it on social media.
Completely. And it's so unique that. Because I'm so disappointed John's not here, because as anybody knows, John's the storytelling guru around here. And storytelling is really what makes your story come to life, and that relationship come to life. Now, somebody who's wanting to start getting into the social media space, or they're an entrepreneur, or they're wanting to start a business, they've got that inkling, they've got that burning desire that you had at the beginning. Where do you go to start just putting things out there? What do you start putting out there? How do you start telling these stories? What is the best way to do it? Because I know a lot of people are going to be looking at going, there's no way I am putting a single thing on social media before it's perfectly edited, before it looks all nice and shiny. It's got the nice little animations. It has a little pop-up menu that everybody's going to know what it is. But what is the process in which somebody can go through from zero to posting regularly that is going to be most effective to help them grow and be where ultimately you are, from moving from that kind of corporate job to passion?
Well, when I first started making content, it was not good, right? It was nowhere even close to what I'm making today. So to a certain point, you just have to start. right? No one's going to judge. Like, this is the analogy I always use. Does anyone really remember all the games that Michael Jordan lost terribly, or the shots that he missed, or the games where he just didn't really show up, the championships that he missed? No. We remember 6 championship rings and him being one of the greatest basketball players in the history to ever do it. Well, that's the same way with your content. People get hung up on like, ooh, what if it's not perfect? Or what if it doesn't, no one likes it, or I don't come across the right way? It's like, no one's going to care. Do you know how many times somebody's like rolled up to me and been like, Alex, but your first 6 videos, I saw them and they sucked. I'd be like, I don't give a shit, Bob. Like, they were my first 7 videos. Like, no one's ever done that in the history of talking to me. So you have to just start, because it's like anything. It's a skill, right? You can't do it and expect to be amazing at it from the very beginning. If you had never played tennis in your entire life, you would never get on the court and be like, okay, I need this to be perfect. I got to have the greatest racket. I've got to build every swing. It's got to be on point. You'd be like, I'm going to get out here and swing the racket and probably get, hit in the face with a couple tennis balls, but I'll probably learn. And if I like it, I'll come back and do it again. And that's how content is. You have to put yourself out there, get in the repetitions. It's going to take 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 videos before you start to get good at it. But what I'll say before that, because I think people just need to get going. They just need to do and start. And that's a big miss that I think a lot of people have. They just get hung up in thinking and strategy, and they overthink. And then 2 weeks goes by. Yeah, I was going to post, but now I think I should get this new microphone. And no, you don't need a new microphone. Just pull out your phone and make a friggin' post, So, but I do think there's some important things to mention here, which is, when you actually do start to post, really think about why you're posting. And for me, it's like the purpose and the brand and the impact that I'm trying to make. And then there's the other side, which is like, you're probably trying to grow a business or a personal brand or generate revenue or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, or find candidates, or, get hired as a candidate, whatever it might be. So you need to quickly think about, who is my target audience? Who are the people that I'm going to post for? A lot of people actually make content and it's for them. It's for them. They think it's cool. I'm like, awesome, Sharon. Like, tell me about this piece of content. I'm coaching somebody, right? She's like, well, I just really thought this was cool. And I'm like, cool. But does your target audience, the people that you want to reach and attract, are they going to care about this? It's like, oh, yeah, I guess I never really thought about that. You have to literally put yourself in their shoes all the time and think, what do they care about? What are they working on? What are they challenged with? What value could I add to them that would make their lives easier, their work easier, their job easier, whatever it is? You really have to put your audience first.
It's such a great point, and I love the correlation between the two, because you're exactly right. How many things that do we procrastinate on? I know over the course of the last probably 40 episodes, we've talked about finding what works for you and taking action on it. Everything starts with action. And whether it's losing weight, whether it's starting the business, whether it's writing that book, whether it's bettering your relationships, whether it's embarking on a cross-country move, it all starts with that first action. And content is no different. However, I love the point that you made, that you need to have an idea of what you're putting out there and a plan and a vision as to who that is. Because I think so often we take these random stabs at content, and we'll put something up, and just like any learned behavior, you put up one content, you put up one piece, one post that really was just randomly put out there. It has no engagement. You kind of felt uncomfortable, and you're like, I'm not going back there again. I'm not
exactly.
doing that. I'm not doing that. That was embarrassing. That was humiliating. And it's just,
that's a great point that you bring up, because people's ego gets in the way of them continuing to post and to stay consistent with it. We all have to deal with that, right? Ego is a good thing because it pushes us, it drives us, we want to do better, but it can hurt us in so many ways. And one of them is, if a post is bad, you're now hesitant to post again, because you're like, crap, man, I didn't do good, or you delete it and take it down, And the reality is, you got to push your ego aside and say, okay, it's one post. I've got to make 1,000 more of these in the next, couple of years or whatever it is. So you can't get hung up in just one post. That's why I teach people, like, it's just one post. So take what you learned from it and move on, and just forget about it. It's in the past now. It's done. So don't dwell on it. The other thing that you were talking about too is you have to really be yourself. That's one thing that I did that was very unique on LinkedIn specifically. And it's part of the reason that my brand built the way it built and the company built the way it built, is because I got on there and I was like, I mean, you gotta remember a year ago on LinkedIn, people weren't doing green screen backgrounds and and videos and stuff like that and different characters. It just wasn't happening. So I got on there and I was like, all right, well, this is going to be kind of weird, but I'm going to try some new stuff because it's me. It's just who I am. Like, I love doing these kind of things. I love acting out my stories instead of always just telling somebody. I love mixing in music, like, because that's who I am. I love music. And so I decided that I was going to do me. And it was going to turn some people away. I know that, but it was going to turn a lot of people on because they realized it was different, it was unique, and it was me. And I felt very comfortable doing it because at the end of the day, I could say, like it, hate it, love it, whatever you want to do. This is just who I am. And I think that's so important for people to remember, is that so many people try to fit in, and it actually takes away the number one advantage that you have in life is that you are you and nobody else is you. Yet it's the number one advantage that we manage to misuse. We want to fit in. We want to be like so-and-so. We think we need to act a certain way on a certain platform, and it takes away instantly the greatest gift that you have.
It's such a great point because, and I resonate so heavily with that because I'm out there. If you look at a lot of the content I put out, you're the green screen guy, the guy that puts in videos and different animations and different things. I'm just like, I look at that, I'm like, man, that's awesome. But at the same time, that's not me.
Right.
I couldn't do that. If I tried to do that, it would be like, what is this guy doing? I'm the energy guy. I come in, I'm outside. I'm walking around in every single post I'm doing, and I'm bringing the energy. I'm walking down. I'll high five someone in the middle, walking down the street while still giving the message. And someone's like, oh, this is kind of weird, but whatever.
It's you.
That's
you.
me.
Yeah.
And that is what resonates with people because it comes out naturally.
Yes.
And it doesn't become this drag of another video in his office or whatever it may be. And and I think the question I have for you is, how do you get somebody to figure out what their version of those two examples I just gave is? The things that are going to really turn people on to you, the one thing that is like your it factor. How do you help people find that and get comfortable acting in that?
Well, there's two things. So the first thing is you got to look inward and decide, or look inward and figure out. You probably already know this, but maybe it takes some digging. But you have to say, what am I naturally good at? What are my strengths? So maybe it is the energy, the walking around. Maybe it is the skits and the green screen stuff. Maybe it is you got some musical talent. Maybe you can draw. Maybe you're a really good storyteller, a really good interviewer. People have all sorts of different talents. So look inwards and figure out, what am I kind of naturally good at? Like, what's my sweet spot, right? Maybe you probably got a couple. And then the second part of that is you got to go out there and test and try. Like, I never would have known that I could do these videos had I not got out there and started doing them. But here's the funny part, Justin, like, I spent 30 years not doing any of this stuff.
Yep.
I spent 30 freaking years letting this creativeness just chill inside my body and my mind. And I did absolutely nothing with it. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do today. That's why I want to help people unleash their creative and their potential, and that's why I'm so passionate about content creation, because I feel like I know there's someone that's, 18 or 25 or 45 or 70 right now that has really, 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 really strong potential and probably creative, but they're scared to unleash it because they're not sure what people will say, or even if they can do it or not. They just don't even think they can, right? Maybe it's not, they don't think it's appropriate, whatever it is. Like, people just get inside their own heads and they become their worst enemy. The self-doubt creeps in. And I think that's where people have to understand you have to go and try, because you're never going to know until you start testing things.
It's a great point. And I want to ask you right before we kind of wrap here is, what do you see in the social media space and building a brand? Where is the best places to be right now? What content is resonating? What is new? If somebody's like, I just don't even know where to start, where do they go?
Well, the first thing I would say is go where your audience is, right? So go where your customers are. So if your customers are heavy on LinkedIn, that's probably a pretty good place to start, right? But I also wouldn't overly leverage yourself on just one platform. You may have a product or service where the TikTok demographic is perfect for you, and the organic reach is fantastic on there right now. It's the same with LinkedIn. It's more than LinkedIn, but again, different demographics. So I would say you have to look at where is the most opportunity. And then where is the most organic reach if you're talking about just non-paid content, right? Organic content. Because if you think about the two players right now, it's TikTok and LinkedIn for sure. If you go on Facebook or Instagram and you try to start from scratch without a big following with no paid ads, good luck. Like there's too many ads right now. It's so ad heavy and it's so saturated from regular content. They don't have any attention to give you. Like they have to squeeze out any attention. And so LinkedIn, it's not as ad heavy. TikTok, it's not as ad heavy. And there's not as much content in terms of the user content ratio. And so you can get on there and really make some movement pretty quickly. So I would be looking at where my customer base is first and determining where I would determine where I would go. But I wouldn't overly leverage myself in one place.
Awesome. And one takeaway for the audience in terms of how do you get better at video content? I know it's how do you get better at anything? You do the action, but how do you actually tangibly get more comfortable in providing value in these videos?
Yeah, you could hire somebody to help you get there quicker. Of course, that's what we all do, right? All of our, consulting coaches, people that help people, you can hire somebody to fast track you. But the reality is, you have to put in the repetitions. You have to learn, you have to test, you have to try. So if you've only put out 2 videos, like I love when people come to me, they're like, Alex, I've done this video thing now, but I'm still not great at it. I'm like, cool, Johnny, like how many videos have you done? I've done like 4 or 5 now. I'm like, you've done 4 or 5 videos. Like, how do you expect to be that amazing? So yeah, it's just like anything. You got to learn the fundamentals though. That's what I'll say. Like you have to learn. It's not just about, just like with anything, you can't go out there and try to swing the bat a million times and your form's all jacked up, or you don't have the right fundamentals. You're trying to shoot a basketball, but you don't know how to, your shot's way off, or it's just, you're not focused on the X's and O's and the fundamentals of the actual task. So you need to go out there and learn, whether that's you hire somebody or you YouTube and Google stuff and test and try all day long. You got to learn and become dedicate yourself to your craft. You have to dedicate yourself to getting good at what you're trying to do. But then again, it's going to come down to testing and trying and doing, and you're going to fail and you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. That's part of the process.
What are Alex B Sheridan's top 3 fundamentals?
You got to grab attention. You have to grab attention. This is especially in LinkedIn, TikTok, these platforms. YouTube's different because it's a search-based content platform. So people are searching for things. So once they get there, they usually stay if it's good. But a feed-based platform like LinkedIn, for example, you got to stop them in your tracks. So number one, you've got to either have a really good thumbnail. The first 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 seconds really has to be attention getting. You don't want to start off with, hey, it's Alex here. I'm with Impacts. And, a couple things I want to talk to you about today. Some people are already gone, right? That's how quick the attention is just there and then it's gone. So you've got to stop them. The second thing you got to do is get them to stay. So you don't want to post a 4 to 5 minute video on LinkedIn. You want to post something that's more easy to consume. Maybe it's a 45-second, minute, 2 minute, 2.5 minute video. And there's got to be a good engaging message along the way. You don't want to give everything away the first 10 seconds. You want to build it up, telling a story, keep them engaged so that they want to see how it ends. They want to know what happens at the very end of the video so they stay in tune with it. And then thirdly, you have to have some type of call to action or a place that you're going to take your audience. And maybe it's, hey, drop a comment below. Maybe it's, hey, I'm giving away a free worksheet or free this or that or free advice. Shoot me a DM if you're curious and you want to learn more. Maybe it's a 2-minute video, but the 30-minute video is on YouTube. And so you say, hey, for the full video, if you liked what you saw here, there's 28 more minutes of value-packed strategy just like this. I'll put the link in the comments below. Click on the YouTube channel. You can watch the whole video. So you've got to be mindful of where am I trying to take my audience? You got to be really intentional. And so it's like, you're going to get the attention. You got to grab it. Now you've got the attention. You've got them to stay. Now, what do you do with it though? And that's where it starts converting into opportunities and customers.
I love it. That's everything here is just so actionable. And that's the beauty about, I think, content and video creation is that it is so immediate. It is so actionable. It is so you create it now and boom, it can be out there tomorrow or tomorrow, the next second.
Yeah.
And that is what is so great about this is that there's not this delayed gratification. It can be instant. It can be boom, here, away we go. Let's start going. But how do we do that consistently? And like anything, When we're trying to acquire a skill, it's all about that consistent basis. It's all about that consistent practice that helps drive skill acquisition and change. And it can take you from corporate to your passion very quickly, as Alex, you've done so well.
Appreciate it, man.
So guys, as you're sitting in your desk or as you're preparing to do your next video and you're asking yourself, is this enough, or is this good enough, or is this where I should start? The answer is always yes. The answer is always take that first step. Put something out there, but have a plan behind it. Understand who your audience is, where your audience is, what you want them to do, what your message is, and just be clear and drop the judgment on yourself, understanding that any message is better than no message. And that at the end of the day, you being you will get you exactly what you want at the end of the day, because it's not anybody else other than you. Alex, where can everybody find you?
LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, but A Sheridan at impacts.com. You can reach me by email, but really LinkedIn direct message is the best way to probably get a hold of me.
Awesome, guys. As always, stay hungry, stay humble, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for joining us for another week of the Coaches Council. If it wasn't for you viewers and listeners, we wouldn't have a platform. So again, it's all about you guys. And we want to give you a reward just for listening. We want to give you access to each one of our coaches for a little bit deeper, intimate experience. So if you go to coaches-council.com, coaches-council.com, subscribe and like to whatever platform you're viewing on, you're going to be entered to have that one-on-one experience. So be sure to go coaches-council.com and really interact with us, because we would love to interact with you. Until then, stay safe, stay hungry, stay humble, and thanks for listening.